Would you say one of the keys to succeeding in Belarus or in Minsk is learning, I guess, Russian? My guess is the English is probably not that great there. So, what would you say about that?
Learn the language. That's what I say. You got to learn the language. English levels here are very, very low.
Very low.
And I'm learning the language. I'm about 2 months into learning the language. Russian is it is difficult. I'm finding it a slog, but as soon as I overcome the initial structuring of the language, if I build up my vocabulary enough, I think then everything will pop into place. I mean, learning Russian, it's a bit like building a house. Okay, you have to put in the foundation. And when you put in the foundation, then everything will just fly up. Everything will come together. And the same with learning Russian. Indeed, the same with learning any language, but especially Russian. I mean, you have so many cases. You have your group 1, group 2 verbs, and it's about building up, that vocabulary. But if you want to come to this part of the world, you have to learn the language.
Yep.
Learn Russian is prerequisite. You've got to be able to learn it. If you go to a shop, if you go to the bus station, train station, anywhere at all, nobody speaks English. Nobody. I mean, last night when I was at the bar last night, having a beers on a date. Now she spoke passable English, but we were kind of exchanging between English and Russian, and the waitress there at this quite upscale bar, she couldn't speak a word of English. So if you want to order food or drink, you have to be able to do it in Russian.
Gotcha. So you've been living there for about a year, and but you're only 2 months into Russian. So I get you kind of touched upon it, but how has it been so far with your since your Russian is you're still getting there? I guess how has it been so far with your English?
Well, I use English at work, obviously, but the thing about it is, see, when you meet your workmates for a social event, they want to practice their English on you.
Yep.
That's the thing about it. Like, when you go out for work nights out, or if you're out and about and you meet your work colleagues, I mean, they want to speak in English with you. I mean, for example, 2 of my workmates, they are both Russians. One is from Kazakhstan. The other guy is from Voronezh in southern Russia. Yep. And these are the guys I get on really well with. But they just want to practice their English on me. But outside of that, no matter where you go, you need Russian. You need it. It's basically you need the local language, not only to integrate, also to improve your quality of life, socially as well, because you want to interact with the local population as well, for to build up kind of a social circle, but also kind of to date local women as well. So you need Russian, definitely need Russian.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know. I'll just bring it to myself here a little bit. I posted about this on the forum, but even here in Poland, you can get by with English. The younger people generally speak English. But I remember sitting in the Wrocław train station. There was just to be real quick, there was a girl there, and me and my buddies are there, and my buddy opens her up indirectly. She doesn't speak English, and I've been learning Polish for the past few months, and so I have a basic knowledge, and I was able to. I asked her in Polish if she was Ukrainian, so she kind of looked Ukrainian, and that instantly changed her response from "Oh no, I don't speak English" to "Oh hello, you speak Polish? What? I'm interested," kind of a thing.
Exactly. That's a very, very good point you've made. In that, if you show some interest in their culture, it opens up many different and new avenues for you. It's. I mean, look, I'll tell you this thing about Poland. Now, I've never been to Poland. Believe it or not, I've been to Lithuania, I've been to Russia and Ukraine, but Poland, I would imagine, obviously is a lot more Western,
Right.
Than Belarus or Russia or indeed Ukraine would be. You know, so obviously the Westernization, the English language levels would be a lot higher. But as you mentioned yourself there, 262, you know, it's nice to be able to know something about the local culture, because when you do that, people pay you a lot more respect than you do. You know, they regard you as someone who is not only interested in them, but someone who is living there, and that you are not some kind of passerby, not some kind of tourist,
right?
You know, who's, you know, just in the country for 2 weeks and gone again, like, you know, and peace out, I'm out of here, kind of thing.
Right.
So, you know, it's a good thing when you do that, and I have found that as well when I've been out and about. You know, when I have been on dates with girls who speak practically zero English, but I've been able to kind of get around that, you know, using my rather limited Russian, and also there's the element of Google Translate.
Right.
As well. I attribute that to Deb Autry, you know, his Google Translate game, and you know, it does kind of work, you know.
Yeah, it's better than nothing.
It does. It's better than nothing. It does, actually. But just to fill you in on some future plans of mine.
Yeah.
I am going to Russia in July with forum member TripleG. And we are flying into Moscow around, you know, early July, and from there again we're going to see how it goes. You know, TripleG wants to go south into Krasnodar and Sochi and on the coast. I want to hit further east. So that's a bit of like a taster of what's coming up in the next month or so.
Nice.
You know? But basically, I'm just brushing up on my Russian just so I can go there and you know, make things a bit more easier for me.
Yeah. I know. I saw Ligurian's post about how he's especially in the Russian language thread where, you know, he's finally found. He posted where he basically, like, the Russian language paid off, and he was dating this girl, and this Siberian girl, and it's just like, yes, it paid off. I'm like, that's a very inspiring post. Like, that's exactly what I needed to hear.
Ligurian is a great example. I've known Ligurian now for 3-4 years. You know, I've known him quite a long time. We're very, very good friends. We've been out together. We've gamed together. And he's a guy. He's a great example. Ligurian is a great example of a guy who's the adventurous type. He was a guy, you know, he decided, that's it, I'm going to the FSU, and he went out there a few times, came back, but he realized that he wasn't getting the bang for his buck, basically, pardon the pun.
Right.
He needed to learn the language, and that's what he did. 3 years ago, he said on his post, he's often told me that himself as well. He knuckled down and he learned Russian, and now finally it's paid off for him. And I often talk to him, I often message him, you know, I often talk to him on Skype, and I've been out with him as well, personally. But good guy to meet up.
Definitely.
And he's a natural. He's a natural gamer, and if you are the kind of guy who likes this part of the world, who has a keen interest in the culture, Ligurian is a good example. He's a good role model for any up and coming, any traveller. You know, he's an adventurous guy. He doesn't care. He's been to some of the most weirdest and strangest places in the FSU.
Yeah.
And you know, he's been through it all. Great guy, by the way, Ligurian. You know, and he's a role model. That's what he is. He's
Definitely.
A role model, you know, for determination. He's a role model. And I also met another guy as well, Harald Baldr.
Yep.
My travels, guy from Norway. Good guy as well.
Met him.
Been out, you know, in here in Minsk. So, and Turiysta as well.
Yep.
Another forum member. So yeah, we've a bit of a network built up of some of the guys from Kiev.
Yeah.
And another guy, he was also here in Minsk. from the forum, Unbowed.
Yep.
And so it's a bit of a network we've built up, and that's the good thing about the Roosh the Roosh forum, and that guys can keep in contact with each other. If you're in Minsk, if you're about, they tend to send guys PMs, let's meet up, shoot the breeze, have a few beers, that kind of thing. That's what I like about it.
Yeah, definitely. I remember when I was in Kiev in August last year, just before all those guys you mentioned went to Minsk. Yeah, I met them all up and met up with all of them. We had a fun night out. There's a post, I think, on the forum, I don't know if it's still up, about the Revo Crew.
Yeah, the Revo Crew completely destroyed Kreshashtyk. Yes.
Oh my god, that was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I was there. Oh.
Yeah. I can only imagine how nasty, how bad it got. All these guys pumped up on Revo, hitting on everything with the skirt and living up to the stereotype of the hungry sex tourist. Because the thing about it is, I've been to Kiev twice.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been to Kiev, I'd say, in about 4 years. Okay. And even just before the whole fighting, before the whole situation in Ukraine,
right?
And even then, I kind of got this feeling back in 2011 and 2012 that Kiev was completely played out. That every single sex tourist and his dog had been, there, and I remember walking up and down Kreshashtyk, and seeing all these dirty old pervs, sitting on the benches, with these, leering at every single thing that passed in a skirt, and it kind of gave me the whole, I don't really like this place.
Yeah.
Like the whole seedy kind of atmosphere at Kreshashtyk. And it was only when I got out of the city centre, got away from places like Shooters and Arena City and Kreshashtyk. And it's when I went out to the suburbs across the Dnieper on the other side of the river. That's when I had my success there. Because in 2012 I met this girl on Bamba. She was a solid eight, and I was in Kiev for about two and a half weeks at the time, and I was going out, having a bit of a crack, a bit of a laugh, and about a week into my trip, I got a message from her. She was back in town, so she said, "Why don't you come out to this place, play a game of snooker, or pool, whatever?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" So I went out, met her friend with her boyfriend, just myself, just the four of us there, and it was a good night. It was a good night in the suburbs. And to cut a long story short, 4 days later, I sealed the deal with her, But as I said, get out into the suburbs. Better crack us out there, because places like Kreshashtyk, center of Kiev, dude, it's completely played out. Even when I was there back in 2011, it was totally played out.
Yeah. I hear what you mean. I remember, and Nomad remembers this too on the podcast. He remembers, even in day game, Unbowed, remember, he's saying, man, we were there in August, is it a POA convention here? What the heck? Everybody is here.
Yeah, everybody. That's the thing that would turn me off, because if you're walking down the street down in Kreshashtyk and you try to open up a girl, she's going to tell you to get lost, because chances are she's been hit on 50 or 60 times that day by guys like you. So it's a well-known magnet of sex tourism, and it has been on the sex tourist map for the last 25 years. But you're better off, if you want to stand out from the crowd, okay? First of all, you have to speak the local language, Russian, okay? Second, you have to establish yourself in the country. That's important.
Build a social circle.
Yeah, build up the cultural and social circle. And third, stay there. Okay. That's just what I think you should do. I mean, both times I was there, I got laid. Okay, I got laid. I was there 2 weeks, 4 weeks in total. Two on both trips, But I kind of got the feeling that the place is jaded. Even back then, it was jaded. Now you can still have a lot of fun in Kiev. Ligurian he's had a lot of fun in Kiev, but that's because that he has the language there, and of course he's built up a good kind of game that suits him well,
Right.
But if you want to stand out from the crowd, you gotta establish yourself there, speak the language, get set up, and stay there basically, for a long time.
Yeah.
But if you want to get the white god factor, you got to get away from these places and head off the beaten track.
Yeah, definitely. Like I know when I was in Wrocław Główny talking to that girl was not from a big city in Poland. She was from the city is called Zielona Góra. It's a third tier city in Poland. There's no reason anybody should know the name of that city. But it's the off the beaten track is where to go if you want, and obviously off the beaten track you need to learn the local language just to get around off the beaten track.
Yeah.
So I definitely hear you on that.
Mm-hmm. But the thing about it is, 262, this can be a double-edged sword in that, okay, you can head off the beaten track, right, and go to these third-tier towns, but then you're going to run into this question: what are you doing here?
Right.
This is and you have to have an answer for this. What are you doing here? Why come to this industrial shithole? What are you doing here? You have to be able to kind of have that answer for them, and have to be able to kind of show bona fide interests and have a good backup story as well to them.
Right.
What are you doing here? That kind of thing.
Yep.
So it can be a double-edged sword, but if you really want to push the boat out, and if you really want to get a better experience, Tier 2 cities would be better. Because if you go to any city under a Tier 2, it's a Tier 3, Tier 4 city, you're going to run into a smaller population base.
Yep.
And you are going to come across cities and towns that have close-knit social circles because of the lower population. So it's better to stay in Tier 1, Tier 2 cities, where you still have that kind of novelty, but also you have the kind of anonymity as well.
Right. Yeah, I agree. That's why I'm here in Gdańsk, Poland, which is a second-tier Polish city, and not in Zielona Góra, where
it's the same in Russia. Because I was in Ekaterinburg twice, and Ekaterinburg it's a tier 2 city in Russia, because in Russia you have obviously the big daddies, Moscow, St. Petersburg, and then you have the tier 2 cities. These are cities that have 1 million plus people. For example, cities like Nizhny Novgorod, Ekaterinburg, Novosibirsk, Samara. And Vladivostok and so on. These are the Tier 2 cities, and these are the cities to be in if you want to increase your novelty factor, and if you want to have a better experience of living and absorbing a certain country's culture. In this case, Russia. Because cities of 1 million plus people, they have a lot more girls there, a lot more females there, and also you have the factor of novelty, and also you have anonymity as well there as well. So if anyone's thinking of going to Russia, a good place to start is Moscow. Moscow is a fun city, but Moscow isn't Russia.
Right. It's like New York isn't the US.
Yeah. I would then advise them to hit the provinces. Go to the Tier 2 cities. Any of the cities that are 1 million plus upward.
Yeah, that makes sense. What I would caveat that though is the country has to be big enough where the Tier 2 cities still have those effects. If you go to a Tier 2 city in Estonia, you're gonna end up in a pretty small city.
Yes.
So I would emphasize that caveat that the country has to be big enough, and that's kind of why I chose Poland over some of the other Central European countries is because Poland is one of the few Central European countries that's big enough where the tier 2 cities are still have those effects you mentioned, where you get that combination of anonymity but also novelty.
Yeah, exactly. That's where the caveat comes into play. The country has to be big enough for that. And if you are in Ukraine or Russia, or indeed to a certain extent Belarus, yeah, that can work in your favor, you know, but if you're going to Lithuania or Estonia, it's not going to work in your favor.
Right.
It's not going to do that, you know. Because if you go to Lithuania, I mean, yeah, outside of Vilnius, what do you have? Kaunas, it's industrial. You also have Klaipėda on the coast as well.
Right.
But the country has to be big enough. And
Yep.
Russia and indeed Ukraine, two good examples of that.
Right.
Comes to FSU.
Yep.